Alrighty, folks. I see a few people jumping in here. Trade Ideas Live Q&A. Anybody with questions, please get those in for me right away. If not, we'll just take a moment here and let people settle in and kind of hang out and hope that questions come in. So again, it's a live open forum. Anybody with questions, please get those in right away. Come one, come all with the questions. As usual, it's an open forum. We don't have pre-done content for this. We let you folks drive the content with your questions of the software. As the saying goes, cannot answer the questions that are not asked. So don't be shy. Get your questions in. So again, anybody with questions? RL, I have a position at 193. Alrighty. Can I show some resistance? Yeah, I mean, the first thing I always do whenever I'm looking at support and resistance is draw a line, right? A lot of times I'll just go right to most recent highs and lows. And, that lines up pretty well right there. Of course, this drawing tool blows, but we'll never mind that. Whatever you want to show. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, looks like quite a line up there. And it could possibly run itself into some resistance in the near future. So that's what I'd be looking at there. As always, I do hope that you had a plan when you entered the trade. If not, you need to make one now and stick with it, right? Didn't quite get up to that level all back here, but we could see that was tough through there. And it got up to it and it struggled, popped through it, back under it, bounced off it a little bit before falling through. So that's, where I would be looking. And I think, this area here, another pretty clear area of interest here. So it came down, tested underneath this and bounced off of it. But, one could almost argue a bear flag going on right there as well. So I'd be looking at things like that right now. And making sure to protect profits. Yeah, 208 seems reasonable. If we drill in here, nothing seems to work on these charts anymore. Can't get anything to come up. Utterly disappointing. Normally you can get, yep, that's what I'm looking for, is this over here, but for some reason it just doesn't want to work on the daily chart. Normal. Yeah, I can't get it to work. But yeah, that 208-ish or so seems like an area, a reasonable area to be looking at here. And the bottom here around that 214 or so. Yep, those would be the areas I'm looking at. Give me a second here, try to adjust something on my screens. Bear with me 1 second. See if that works. All right. So again, anybody with questions, don't be shy. Get those questions in. Interesting. This is giving those candles, but Ralph Lauren wasn't. There it is. Now it's working. Lovely. So again, anybody with questions, don't be shy. Get those questions in here for me. Other than that, I don't think there's really much to talk about in the market today. All things considered, pretty much a snooze fest. While everybody waits to see what new fun and awesome headlines come. Yeah, no, very quiet the last couple of weeks now for me here in this chat. Key, sure. Doesn't look great, compared to some of the other banking sector and finance parts of the financial sector out there. Peaked here, 2020. Excuse me. Probably September 2023 or 2024. No, I was wrong. November. So yeah, peaked out here in November. It's been on a steady decline since. Looks like we got to go back quite a bit to find this kind of level again. So yeah, this is around 2020 levels. So we got to go way back. I don't know why that would impact those stocks. Sorry. I would guess that components inside those kinds of whatever's being built, whatever quantum things are being built, require those rare earth materials. That's the only thing I can figure. Yeah, if we draw a line from the recent lows here. Or not. I guess it just doesn't want to work today. All right. Out of hand right now. So yeah, I mean, it's come down to a pretty interesting area here. I mean, hitting this way back machine, there's COVID. Right. Last bear market, besides the exception that we have. So, it's come down and tested this breakout area from the prior bear market here of 2022 into 2023. So I think, if it can dig itself in here and the market doesn't collapse, we could see some positive results out of that. But I mean, if it were to break down this area, you got a ways to go down here to 10, just below 10. So that's what I'd be looking at with KEY. Comparing that over with the rest of the rest of the banking sector here. The rest of the banking sector looks much healthier than that looks. I'm just looking at it from, back here to where we are now. You had KEY testing this area, that bear market, where this is held to the breakout area in the prior bear market. So yeah, that's what I'd be looking at. KEY looks kind of weak compared to the rest here. How your take on Palantir? I don't really have one. We can look at the chart and draw some lines on it. I don't have a take on it though. The thing went, irrationally parabolic, and then proceeded to give back quite a bit of that. So, I'd be looking at this area right here for it to hold, where broke out, tested, and really broke out. So breakdown of this area, it looks like it's going to hand most of it back. It can hold this area here, then I would have to guess that it's going to want to try to challenge back up here again. So, this was a big bounce candle for it yesterday, obviously. Now, that sell flag is in the way. Let's get rid of that. So we've got it looking at this gap up today towards 100. So that's what I'd be looking at here. You got a huge range on it, so you got to be careful with that. This thing, it's trading a $30 range in a day. That's fairly remarkable, to say the least. Not something you see every day. So it's going to be one of those ones that's not for if you don't have a ton of capital to be taking big risk, this is not the stock for you. I'm using the Royal U, by the way, not you specifically, Joe. I'm just talking about like the Royal U. Because, look, even if you bought, let's say, 50 shares and that thing moves $30 against you, right? I mean, that's still a significant loss on a percent basis, just at 50 shares even. You take 100 shares of it, my God, having that kind of loss on 100 shares on a stock that's less than $100, it's a massive percent loss. And yes, the flip side is, you could see that percent gain, right? It's totally possible. But, the first thought of anybody with risk management should be, what's my risk? It should not be, what's my reward? So, yeah, that's what I'm looking at there. CrowdStrike. Another one that makes some insane moves here. Absolutely insane move yesterday in this thing. I mean, the 4.5% that's up today seems like nothing compared to what it did yesterday. Take a look at stocks that are up the most today that have traded some stuff, traded some shares. Let's go 11. And let's look at 2 million in volume. Let's see what's up the most. Modest 26%. And Max. Rocket Lab. So pretty interesting seeing some of these names, see some players of the past few months / some random newer issues too. Hewlett Packard. That thing is that pretty beat up though over the last few months here. We looked at CrowdStrike. This is going to be a NVIDIA play here. Bank of America. Earnings tomorrow morning for Bank of America. That ought to be interesting. Again, anybody with questions, don't be shy. I'll be here for about half an hour more. I'm going to cut out a couple of minutes early today. I have a meeting at 1 o'clock that I'd like to make on time for today. So again, don't be shy, folks. Get some questions in for me. Rock right over those. Again, was this thing went on a pretty big run. Holy mackerel. Settled right back down from whence it came. We talked about a bunch of sectors last week and went over some again yesterday, so much else to say there. Talked about the banks before. They're at the top of the list today. They're among the healthier over the last 5 days. SMH, even more so. Hefty Bounce, SOXX, same thing. Financial sector. Tech, probably the heaviest sell-off, among the heaviest sell-offs of all from this whole thing. Healthy bounce on it, definitely a healthy bounce. We'll see. I mean, within the software, I don't know what we got for lists. We could take a look here. Outside of that, I'd really just say a web search. But let's take a look at see what we have for lists here. sectors, mining. So mining, except gas and oil extraction, support activities for mining. Coal, metal and ore, non-metallic material and quarrying. Mining and quarrying. Quarrying, oh my goodness, Chris. So you got these in here that you could break down like that. I don't know that they'll exclude. How much will exclude gold and silver? There you go. You got copper, nickel, lead, and zinc mining here. Iron ore, other metal. So you can find those in there under the add existing list. Start with sectors, look for mining, and you can break it down from there. And you can always add a web search to it as well. There's some kind of logic that does some scrubbing to find stocks based on these sectors, these sector lists here, this kind of stuff like this, whatever's through the profile and stuff like that. And so it's not perfect, but it probably gets you a good start. I think it'll get you a good start. Curious what's still down most over the last 5 days. Interesting. It's curious to see this at the towards that bottom section of the list here on position range for the last year. Retail as well. Interesting, uranium. Not a whole lot green on the year right now, and that is, I mean, gold and silver taking up most of that. There is not a way to do that. Nope, sorry. No way to create your own TradeWave scans at this point. There's just the 3 that we have pre-built in the Market Explorer, and the Market Explorer is something completely different than an alert window. Anything that comes from this is much different than anything that would come in an alert or top list or anything like that. So, as far as the trade waves go on that, we've got, the 5 daily and weekly here, 5-minute daily and weekly. This is my position lifetime range scan, looking at stuff in about 15% of its lifetime range. There's a whole lot on this. Got to hand it to Netflix, though. Interesting enough, Kroger's. Yeah, sure. The Market Explorer, you can find it. I'm on a development version, so unfortunately, this is going to look all wacky. But if you go to new, look for Market on Explorer underneath it, and you pull that out, and you'll get something that looks like this. There's a link to the user's guide there. Gives a quick overview of this, and it gives an overview of some of the scans that are in here, but not all of them. But if you right click this window, you go to select strategy. There's all these different scans that are in here. The only ones that you won't have access to unless you have the add-ons are the Go No Go and the AVWAP. You shouldn't be able to see those without the add-ons for those products. Outside of that, you've got all these different scans in here. You can select from any one of them. They work similar to an alert window that, the alert's going to come up here as soon as a stock meets this particular scan. However, it functions more like a top list than an alert window in the sense of stocks coming on and off. Well, not coming on and off, but stocks coming on. There's no alert. There's no way to get sound on it. And this uses a set of server data that's completely different than what we offer for making alert windows and top lists. There's no configure to this whatsoever. It is what it is type of set of scans. So we have the Tradewave in here. For those that are interested in it. So you got to buy on USM today, for example. PNW just jumped up on here. Getting himself a buy here just after a recent sell. Everybody's favorite tobacco company. Interesting. Scan calls for a buy. The chart isn't quite showing it yet, but it indicates that the last signal would be a buy based on this being green there. So that's very interesting stuff. I'm just looking to see what else I see on here that I recognize. Netflix. The buy right there. Jay, I don't really have a way to track how people do, in their portfolios, since we're just software for the idea generation, what they're doing and what broker they're doing it in and how they're doing it. We don't have any data on that, unfortunately. I can say, the one thing I can say is that there isn't much turnover in it. Not as many people have gotten it as we would have thought or hoped, but those that have, for the most part, have stuck with it. There's a couple of hundred people using it at this point, 200 and something, I think, 230 or something like that. So, like anything else, it's an indicator. It's not an end all be all to anything, but what do I mean by that? Well, look, if you just, you take a buy there, but that buy didn't work out, where's your sell? Based on that, of course, it ends up working out, but it, took some time to work out on that. Is this a market you're holding things overnight right now? Again, Gets a go trend here, gives it all back, coming back into that pause and no go though. So, just like the trade wave, I think it's not a momentum, a trend indicator. And so I think what it's good for is for those folks that have difficulties discerning trends, can help in that regard. MNMD. Oh yeah, MNMD. That's the mushroom stock, right? Yeah. Definitely one of those stocks waiting on what's coming through the pipeline slash. Well, I wouldn't say coming through the pipeline, actually, more looking at what approvals they're going to get from different governments, essentially. I believe it's no interesting. I thought this was a Canadian stock for some reason. Clearly, I'm wrong, unless this is wrong here. So, hanging out a couple more minutes here, folks. Don't be shy if you got some questions. There's no way to measure that. People make their own custom scans. So, got, several thousand users that are all using their own scans for the most part. I mean, I could tell you, the most popular data points, obviously price, shares traded, relative volume, distances on VWAP, change from close and gap. I think those are probably the most popular data points that are used for scan building overall. But I mean, you got to keep in mind here that we've got 500 some odd data points. All right, well, fine. Don't work. Nothing else does. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up my menu bar, but it just doesn't seem to want to. There we go. Fourth time's a charm. So, you got to figure you've got these 500 some odd data points. And then, you have people that are creating their own custom filters. When I say custom filters, I don't mean that we have a code compiler. They can create whatever they want. They can take data points within the system and string them together to create a filter. You cannot use alerts in it, just the filter codes, filter short codes. So, you have a lot of people that do stuff like that. That's, going to be unique into what they're doing. Whereas my biggest reward to risk, I'm looking at stuff that's trying to break out of no man's land and make a move up. I don't have any good examples right now because all the charts are probably broken at this point. This would be a scan that I'm normally going to find stuff like that. Like, yeah, this is not gonna buy out. See if there's anything here that would resemble anything I'd like to look for. I guess this could kind of work, so you got something like this here. I like to look at stuff like this here. I think those make decent risk reward setups here. That's just my personal look at it. I'm not much of a bottom fisher. I also like to see stuff that's consolidated near recent high or all-time highs. ORLA. Another miner. Thing has gone nutty here. Got 6 months. Yeah, still pretty good move on that 6 months there. So yeah, it's an all-time lifetime high right there. And grinding away. So, this is the kind of thing right here I'd love to see, when I see a chart like this, love to see 3-4 days digesting and try to give that train trying to get back out of the station look. I think, it's something we're going to find with a lot of the miners at this point. HMY comes to mind. Yep, very similar look. AU. Nope. AU. Trying to think what other miners off the top of my head. You can't attach a list to a chart specifically like that. I mean, you can have, the list and the chart linked together. I mean, look, this is a watch list of mine right here. As I click on the stocks in it, it loads into a chart. So you can have it linked in that regard. But there's no way to just have this auto-populate what's in here for you without clicking on it. That's all you can do. So keep the questions coming. I'm sticking around a couple of more minutes before I got a break for a meeting. So KSCP, not a lot going on there really. OST, a lot of shares traded, crazy volume. There's one low price stock in a massive downtrend. A lot of these quick move high flyers, giving them right up, pumping it up and giving it up. Yeah, I mean, so we could go with let's see. We got the 20-day range here, so we could use that. So we can add that filter. Those stocks that are at least 90% above that. There's 3 months. Do the same thing. Add that filter. 90% above the low of that. And same thing on 6 month. Drop this, and we can drop this for now. We just see what's doing with this. All right, maybe we want a price range on there. I wasn't expecting to get stocks that look like that, to be honest. I don't know. Let's add a $10 floor on it. And there you go. Those are stocks that are performing the best over those time periods. How do you get the racing window into your layout? You take a top list and you right click it and go launch real-time stock race. Once you've got it launched, if it auto launches the race, go ahead and press stop. You could right click it and then go into show race setup, and you can make the setup from here, how many lanes you want. It'll race based on the underlying top list columns. So if you want to change, the columns that you have to choose from, you do that in here first. Right click, configure, come to the search what you want for a column, select that, press show column, and then you can get the underlying race or the overlying race for the underlying top list to use that column. If you haven't looked at it yet, I'll find it for you. User's guide section on racing. There you go. You're welcome, Jason. And I can share this out if you want to. I mean, let me name it. Call it up almost over 20 day, 3 month, 6 month. You can use this as a template. You can refine it a little more. Different volume metrics if you want, distances from an SMA or anything like that, of course. So I'm going to begin my walkout here, folks, and shut down in a moment. So I prepare for. So I'm going to get ready to walk myself out here, folks. Shut down in a moment. So you prepare for my meeting at 1. If anybody has any last moment questions, you want to get those in for me. If not, I'm going to shut down momentarily. Truth Seeker, you are welcome. You do the same and have yourself a great rest of the day. Appreciate that. You're welcome, Jason. Appreciate it. Happy to help. Happy to help. Excuse me. So, all right, folks, I guess that'll call it a day here on this side of things. Appreciate everybody coming in. Do appreciate the interactions, comments, questions. And, we do this every day, like I usually say, noon Eastern. Get a few different flavors for personalities here. So don't be shy. Make sure you keep coming back. Please get those questions in so we can help you get the most out of the software that you can. And with that said, I'll go ahead and shut down. And you all have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Take care. Bye-bye.